Hello, welcome back to Brandon Sushi Live Noding. Today I want to be sharing with you this node setup. It's basically very similar to the worm setup, except that they are looking a little bit more like a brush strokes. Yeah. So, what is this? Currently, it's making this word blend, but it's a string to curve, right? You can change this into any text. And as usual, I'm doing this all kind of resampling just to make it a little bit more abstract. So from this curve instance, I resample the curve, fillet, and fill the curve into text, triangulate, and distribute the points so I can distribute more points or less points into the text. And set the position. Actually, I don't need to set the position, but instance on points, and I'm instancing this blah. Okay, the blah is actually what's interesting. I did try to reset the children, and if I use random vector into the rotations, I can give a little bit more randomizations. Yeah, I think it's probably what we need. So basically, they are picking an instance, and the original instance is this blah, which is made of 14 different variations or variants of the brush strokes. Okay, the brush stroke itself is, I think, what's interesting. Actually, some of them might be repeating. The one that's flickering is repeating. Maybe I need to make different variants or something. Yeah, but anyway, each one of them is also using geometry nodes, and here's where interesting things happening. So for the first time, I'm using this float curve and also this curve parameter vector. Okay, this is actually something that you already knows a couple of times and maybe already use. But before, in the past, we just used like a random radius. So in the past, I'm just creating this kind of random radius to make the worms. I can make the worms as long or as short as I can. It's actually looking quite interesting, right? But today, we're not gonna be like, I will explain that it doesn't need to be a random number. It can be using your own curve, in this case turning it into some kind of brush strokes, because the beginning and the ending is actually smooth. So it's kind of nice, kind of like when you're drawing a stroke and you want the beginning and the ending to be tapered like that. So this is what's happening. It's similar to the worm. So let's study this and break this down. So the curve is a curve that's being generated using curve to mesh, except that we have a couple of things, like I think the most important is set curve radius here. That's using the curve parameter. So for each curve that is the worm, we just simply using this float curve node and taper the curve. Okay, this is, I think, the most important. Everything else is pretty much what you have learned before. So this is, I'm using the star for the worms, so it's a little bit more fancy. It's almost like a gel or like a toothpaste, you know. They're making this cool stuff. Okay, you can actually twist also. Maybe I can twist it. Okay. So that's pretty clear. What's happening before here is a lot of things. I'm starting with mesh, but at some point we need to convert it into curve, so we can use the curve parameter and the radius. But before that, it's just simply like again, it's just a noise. The mesh line. So we started with a line. I started with lines. Okay, that's the most interesting one. You can have as many points as you want to these lines. And this line, I can actually control the length itself. So the length of the lines, like the length of the worms or the brush stroke in this case. And then I'm using the noise texture with a small scale. This is a 4D noise, and we are basically moving the original position of the line. So the line goes into the noise, it's creating the worms. Yeah, it's actually that simple. And we have this W factor. The W factor is just gonna be offsetting our line worms. So each one of them is a different variance of brushstroke or worm in this case, like just animated stroke. I think each one of them is slightly different. I have to check. Anyway, all of them goes inside this collection. I call it blah. I can actually call it brush. So brush stroke, random brush strokes now can be instanced on anything. In this case, just letter. So let me hide all of this. I think we understand what's going on already now. It's a line that goes inside noise texture, and the line is animated, and then it's converted into curve. But the most interesting, I think, in this case is this. You can actually mix the random, multiply. So I'm multiplying the random, and then there's this flat float curve. Okay, so we end up with this writing, adjustable writing. So we can say blendful, have a blendful day. Blendful, you know what's lowercase, it's better. So we have these worms that's generating process. Yeah, I've done this too many times, but still pretty interesting. There we go. Brush stroke. The brush stroke is moving around, and it's generating these words. Yes, hopefully you find this useful. Yeah, it's pretty simple and it's pretty basic. I think this could be improved. It's not 100% perfect still, but I think tomorrow maybe you can just modify this and make it better, more interesting art. All right, thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Bye.